I got many, but one of my favorite is we had been open 3 or 4 years, and at that time we had a Model A truck that I restored, and we used to use it to advertise the store and had a store name on it. And one afternoon, Scott, he was on the town council for a while. I can't think of his last name. I'm embarrassed. But anyway, Scott and a bunch of kids he was in high school at the time, came down here to the store and wanted to know would I put my truck in their homecoming parade. And I said, yes. I think we've been open about 2 years. And I said, well, where is the homecoming parade? Well, at that time, they had the homecoming parade many years ago used to be downtown Apex. Well, it was from the food line back down to the high school on Laura Duncan Road. And I just thought that was ridiculous. So I did. I put my truck into the parade, and the homecoming queen from the previous year rode in the back and waved to everybody. So I spent the next year working the town council and the town manager and the town staff saying we should put the homecoming parade back downtown. It only closes the street down for about a half hour, and the parents can come, and then they'll have a reason to go patronize the businesses there and all. And so finally, after about a year being told I couldn't do it, we finally pulled it off. And the homecoming parade is still downtown, and I'm real proud of that, but I had a lot of fun doing it because people told me it couldn't be done. I think being Santa Claus has been by far one of the most important memories of my whole life. Here in the store, at the Apex Christmas tree, walking the streets, because he is a international accepted phenomenon, and everybody loves you during the month of December. And that's a very, very fun thing. The children are just wonderful, and the parents are even better. Adults love Santa Claus. So that's a real fond memory for me, being able to do that and do it for the town and for the kids. One time there was this little boy named David, and David came up. He was 5 years old and had the thickest curly black hair, cute as a button. And his mother had him all dressed up, and he didn't want to get in my lap. He wanted to talk face to face, so he came and stood right there, looked me right in the eye, and I said, okay, David, what do you want for Christmas? So he put his finger on his cheek, and he looked up in the air. And he thought, and he thought, and he thought. His eyes were closed. And I thought, oh, my God, he's never going to say anything. So finally he goes, I've got it, Santa. I said, what's that? He says, I want a big white truck. So I always kind of cut my eyes over to parents, and they did like that. And I said, well, I think we'll be able to do that. You've been such a good boy. What else do you want for Christmas? Put his finger side of his cheek, closed his eyes, looked up in the air, and thought, and thought, and thought, and thought. And I thought, oh, no, well, I'll never get rid of this kid. I got children waiting. Took his finger off, looked at me in the eye, and said, I know what else, Santa. I said, what's that? He said, I want some roast beef. I said, roast beef? I said, well, that's out of Santa's pay grade. You're going to talk to Mom about that. But the white truck, that's in. And that's just typical of the children. Well, the community, the people embraced us here at the store, became like family. We've now seen third generations come through here after almost 20 years. And that's been kind of nice, you know. There's one little girl, she's not little anymore, she's in college, she's 24. Her name is Grace. And Grace started coming in our store when she was almost an infant. And during the year, she would come by. Her parents came down every weekend to get some dinner and come down. She wanted to go to Rusty Bucket. And she'd always come in and ask if Santa here. And she would come look me up and come sit in my lap as a little girl, and we would just talk and carry on a conversation. And in her world, I was her Santa. And she has grown up, and I'm still her Santa. And that's the sweetest thing you can imagine. And then one day, Grace is going to have children, and I hope to get to see them. But I've seen so many generations as a shopkeeper and as a Santa Claus that it's just really nice that because you become a part of their family. You know who they are, and you know about their illnesses and their sad times in their family, and then the good times when they got a puppy or a baby was born. So that's just really cool. I think Apex's people is what makes Apex. Apex's potential has they're growing so fast, and so many subdivisions have come about. A lot of the newer people don't know about downtown. I have a story. One Saturday morning, a lady pulled up out front, was our first customer in the door. And she came in, she said, looked at me, I said, hey Mel, welcome to the Rusty Bucket. Can we help you today? What town is this? And I said, it's Apex. She said, it is. My daughter didn't say anything about this downtown part. Well, her daughter lived down in one of the newer subdivisions. And she worked in Chapel Hill or Durham, so she went out, connected with 64, and drove down to get to Durham or Chapel Hill, wherever she worked. So her view of Apex was the shopping centers like Beaver Creek and where her subdivision was. She never had been downtown. So her mother gave me the phone, and I told her how to get downtown to come out of her subdivision. And her mother stayed another week so she could come shop and eat at the restaurants downtown Apex. So I think, first of all, not lose its small town charm, which it has a risk of doing that. And secondly, when the new people are coming in, find a way to communicate with them that Apex is more than Beaver Creek, as an example, that it has a quaint downtown. I wish they'd go ahead and fix the parking downtown and build a parking deck like we asked 15 years ago. And that would make a world of difference downtown to the businesses. They have more parking. And I know that when you have a festival, or like 4th of July the other day, hundreds of people, possibly thousands, found a way to find a parking space and get downtown. But every day, day in and day out, they need a centralized place to go parking. And the town has kind of drug its feet. But I think it would be a big improvement to the town and downtown if they'd go ahead and build a parking deck. That would be a wish I would have for them. Well, we did an antique festival for about 5 years. That was fun, and the community embraced it. I was sad when the town kind of backed off supporting it, and the Downtown Business Association folded, and so that kind of made it impossible to do. We had a local crafter, which we really reach out to, that built us 2 kitchen islands. One was painted black, trimmed in black and everything, one in red. And they were sitting here in the middle of the store. Well, one Saturday morning, a lady came in, introduced herself. She was from Clayton. And she was in love with those islands. But she wanted to go home and measure, talk it over with her husband and everything. And I said, that's fine. Well, she left, okay? Well, long after a while, I get a phone call in mid-afternoon on that Friday or Saturday night. I think it was Friday night because we were open late. And the lady said, I've been in your store and looking at those islands, and I really love them. Are they still available? And I said, well, yeah. And I'm thinking it's the lady that came this morning. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, I want the red one. I said, okay. She said, but I'm afraid you'll close before I could get there. I said, no, we'll stay open until you get here to pick it up. Well, she came in the door and reintroduced herself. She was from Clayton. So her and her husband and I parked right in front of the store, loaded up the red island into their truck, and off they went. And as they pulled out, another car pulled in. This lady gets out and says, hi, I'm so-and-so from Clayton. I want to get the red island. And I said, you just got it. They just drove off in front of you. Well, long story short, both the ladies were from the same town. They lived in the same subdivision, about 6 houses apart. So they both had been in the store, and you see so many people, unless they come in here a lot, it's very tough to remember how they look like. So one lady, both of them wanted the red island. So we ended up, the other lady, the second Clayton lady came in, and she got the black one. And we loaded it up that night, and off they went. But she said she would paint it red. But that was a funny experience that I had. Okay, that was, it was hilarious at the times. All I could, you're trying to be sympathetic and empathetic to the customer, but you couldn't help to laugh at yourself. And last story, we had a grandfather clock in here that was absolutely gorgeous. Made out of old wood, had knot holes in it, just like we like. Well, we used to live out on New Hill Olive Chapel Road in an old farmhouse, 125-year-old farmhouse. And we loaded up on Christmas Eve. We opened up from 10 to 2, and usually it was for people to come by and pick up stuff they had put on hold for Christmas. Well, as we got in my truck, we started driving out down this way toward downtown. I told Pam, I said, that clock has been in our store for a year. And I said, let's load it up this afternoon, bring it home, and that'll be our Christmas present to each other. She said, that is a great idea. I've been thinking the same thing. Well, we come in, we open up the shop. A couple people come in. Finally, this man comes in. He's looking for a gift for his wife, and it needs to be from the Rusty Bucket. And he looked at that clock and said, I want that clock. And I said, okay. And I said, is there anything else I could interest you in? Because I tried to steer him away from the clock. So I showed him other pieces of furniture. No, it had to be that clock. So we checked him out, and before we loaded it up, I looked at him and I said, I tell you a story. Been in our shop for a year. We said to ourselves we were going to load it up and bring it home for our Christmas when we left the shop today. And so as he came in the shop year after year, I always asked him how my clock was doing.